Nigeria. The Ogoni story, Niger Delta. Thank you and God bless you all. Thank you.
And I believe there are many people whose efforts and contributions. I remember him for all the letters he wrote. But I think this is the greatness of our country, that we can come from different directions and still
of perhaps restoring the place to those days.
That brings to the fruition and dream of Kensato and countless Ogonis who sacrificed their lives.
So much to do. So in order for thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I will continue to use my platform to make sure I help in every way I can. And I pray that this good work which has begun will be seen to successful completion. God bless Ogoniland. God bless River State. God bless Nigeria. Bere Ogoni. Bere Ogoni. Bere Ogoni. Ozaki.
Miss Nigeria, one of the approximately 850,000 people who make up the Ogoni Kingdom, there delivering her address to the people.
Ogoniland, and we are expecting the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but we're still taking goodwill messages at this point. If we have a representative of the President, if we have the President of Ijaw National Congress and Ishekiri National Forum, or we have anyone representing them, please could you come to the podium. I'll also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Ben Nanen of the University of Port Harcourt. In the absence of representatives of Ijaw National Congress and Ishekiri National Forum, Prof, could you come forward for your goodwill message? This is Professor Ben Nanen. He's another board or son. I believe I saw him in the audience just a short while ago. He's around, but I don't see him approaching. Okay, now I see him. A hand of applause as he comes towards the podium. He's done a lot of work under the aegis of the movement of the survival of Ogoni people in driving the narrative and ensuring that we move the process forward in terms of remediation work and restoration of the environment in Ogoniland. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Ben Nanen.
Well Ogoni! Well Ogoni! Well Ogoni! Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic, Ministers of the Federal Republic, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic community, respected traditional rulers here present, ladies and gentlemen, as I stand before you with all humility this morning, my joy knows no bounds. I must confess to you, as a young academic, I was summoned from a postdoctoral program to be the pioneer Secretary General of MOSOP. And I thought within myself that how could I confine my world to a small ethnic platform? But I was convinced to accept that position, and then we started a major task of building the Ogoni struggle. I am happy that I was a part of that initial team and that the theme of nonviolence was adopted. It is a canon of the Ogoni struggle. And today, we are being vindicated by our non-violent stand. Violence cannot solve every problem, but we also have to admonish the Nigerian governments, our governments elsewhere, to listen to peaceful protest. Because often it's when peaceful protests fail that people resort to violence to assert their rights. I'm happy that the Ogoni people, in spite of several temptations, refused to accept that option of violence. We are here in Bodo, and I will tell a very brief story. As we stand here, in 1978, I saw my vacation job as a young undergraduate right here. And all over the place, you could see fishermen landing their catches right at this spot. And any day I came here to work, if I were business inclined, I would have been selling fish to make a profit from that was as a gift. And that is how everybody here lived. But today, this very side, as you can see it, there isn't even a crab around here, thanks to oil exploration and the spills. This particular position too, if you look at it, you may not observe it. But from here, the Trans-Niger pipeline that delivers 150,000 barrels of oil per day for exports enter the creek right from here. I'm saying that for the benefit of people or guests who do not come from this community. And so we can see the significance of this position that we are here today and being in Bodo. And I also need to remind ourselves that every struggle comes with a sacrifice. Every success comes with a sacrifice. Two of the prominent sons of the four people that were killed in mysterious circumstances in 1994 came from this particular community. And so Bodo has paid his sacrifice. Bodo has paid his dues like the rest of Ogoni. This is a struggle that was written in blood and in sweat. And so this is a befitting tribute to that struggle today. When we campaign internationally against environmental devastation, everywhere we reached, the question was always, where is the evidence? And in 1994, the first attempt was made to send an environmental mission to Ogoni, which was aborted. And eventually, we now have UNEP. So we are vindicated. We are excited by this opportunity today, and we hope this is just the beginning of good things to come. As we have noted, we hope that this is not just a ceremony, that after today, the real work will begin. The structure is not yet in place. The Board of Trustees, the Governing Council is not yet in place. And so we hope that after now, the work will commence. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all.
Are we ready with the music?
Thank you so much, Professor Bendane.
Very strongly to the hope that today's event is not going to be just a ceremony, and it's all seen in the seriousness the president has attached to the issue of the cleanup of Ogoniland ever since he assumed office.
This is the symbolic Ogoni dance. When you see an Ogoni woman, Ogoni lady, Ogoni young girl come out to dance, bring this story away. So ladies and gentlemen, we welcome the act Sakin. Please put your hands together. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Great Ogoni! Great Ogoni! Great Ogoni! This celebration will not be completed without the bottom dance of the Ogoni people.
The glory of the moon cannot be covered by nobody. And the glory of the sun cannot be covered by nobody. Therefore, the glory of your body people cannot be covered by nobody. It cannot be covered by no spirit. Therefore, the spirit of the body says no. Thank you. Listen to me now. Hear my voice now. Can sorrow say? Danaba, 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 Gogoni, Iraba. No mama no boy, lone alo lagi, lone aso kyang kasi atama, no boy.
the waterside venue. Well, we just have the arrival of the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, who is obviously going to carry out the launch of the cleanup of Ogoniland and other oil-impacted communities in the Niger Delta. He's being accompanied by the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike. This is the moment everyone here has been waiting for, and he's been presented with a bouquet by 8-year-old Esther Porobunu. 8-year-old Esther Porobunu is an indigene, and it is really for her generation that this cleanup would be making a lot of sense to, because by the time the area is totally restored in about 25 to 30 years that UNEP has estimated, it is the likes of little Esther today who would be reaping the full dividends. The arena is charged now as the figure we've been waiting for is here. And any moment from now, the launch of the cleanup exercise will take up in earnest. I did spot earlier the Nigeria Police Band, and they would take the national anthem now to formally signal the opening of this ceremony.
Thank you. You may take your seats. While the band retires back to their seats, Mr. President, sir, before your arrival, a lot of activities had taken place, and we had kept the place exactly the way you wanted it: peaceful, orderly, and environmentally friendly. Mr. President, Muhammadu Buhari, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, today represented by Mr. Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Distinguished senators and members of the National Assembly here present, including Senators Magnus Abe, Senator Lee Maba, Honorable Ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including the Honorable Minister of Environment, Honorable Minister of Transportation, Honorable Minister of Information and Communication, other members of the Federal Executive Council here, Your Excellencies, the Governor of Rivers State, Host Governor, Chief Nyesom Wike, Your Excellency, the Governor of Imo State of Nigeria, our brother Owele Rochas Okorocha, members of state and federal executive councils here, the President, Supreme Council of Ogoni traditional rulers, other respected kings, traditional rulers, community leaders, elders, and youths, the Director General of NIMASA, the Acting MD of NDDC, Special Advisor to Mr. President on Amnesty, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors of Netherlands and Norway, Respected invited guests, all due courtesies and protocols observed. Mr. President, sir, behind you lies a story. Water, swamp, creek, polluted, devastated, dirty. In front of you here lies the faces of your citizens, bright, hopeful. Behind you, Mr. President, lies the past. In front of you here is the future of Nigeria. It's the future of today. It's the future that will be tomorrow. Mr. President, in the words of Ken Saro-Wiwa, written on April 20th, 1968, in the book, The Ogoni Nationality, Today and Tomorrow, it said, on the ruins of the old, a greater story be told. Mr. President, gathered here are Ogonis from Eleme, Tai, Gokana and Kana, as well as our brothers and friends from other parts of the country, including the diaspora. We are gathered here not to cry, not to weep, but gathered here to say welcome. And in our language, we like to say, Oilua, Odua, welcome home. Mr. President, one woman, one lady, one daughter, one official had literally converted Ogoniland to her ministry. When we came here last night, one lady was describing her and said, that woman with the carry hand, they pack oil spill. And I said, she is an environment militant. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite the Right Honorable Minister of Environment, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, to please come forward and set the ball rolling. Please put your hands together for her. Honorable Minister of Environment.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the Vice President, Osibanjo, Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, Excellencies, Governors, members of the National Assembly, my colleagues, the ministers, Mr. Akim Steiner, the Executive Secretary of UNEP, and Eric Solheim, a friend to us, our members, the MD of Shell of SPDC. Let me start by saying, great Ogoni people, great Rivers people, great Niger Delta people, and in the end, great Nigerians. I am really deeply honored to welcome Mr. President to such a historic day that is turning the leaf of decades of struggle for justice and to one of a new dawn that will clean up and stay clean the Niger Delta. This is a promise that has been kept by President Muhammadu Buhari to launch and to implement the UNEP report and its recommendations for cleanup. It is now a collective responsibility. It will, from today on, require genuine partnerships. It will require that we build trust that we have lost over the decades. It will require transparency and accountability. And it will require proper representation of the people at the grassroots in what we do in investing in their future. It will also require that we do things differently, and that's why this administration comes with change. The past 6 months, I have had wide and deep consultations with all key stakeholders, and I thank them for taking the time to be honest, to reconcile the past with the future and the challenges that we have going forward in making sure that when we do clean up, we stay clean. We have taken stock of much of the work that has been done in the past, recognizing that we must begin to build on solid foundations and find a sustainable way forward. The implementation here will be strong. Governance structures that will be put in place to run this program under High Prep will include a governing council, will include a board of trustees that will handle the funds that will come for investing in the cleanup, but it will also include a commitment from government, as we see the Minister of Budget and Planning, that the Niger Delta, the River State, is much part of the diversification of the economy, and therefore the alternative to the pollution of the Niger Delta will be how we diversify that economy, how we keep it clean, how we maintain the collective responsibility of peace so that we can have prosperity. I believe that we can do this, and my commitment to you today the people of Ogoniland, is that we have our first step in proving that the President has kept a promise and he will implement the cleanup as recommended in the UNEP report. But we also commit to looking at the rest of the Niger Delta, where also pollution is a challenge for many millions of Nigerians. And with that, I would like to thank everyone and once again welcome the President of the Federal Republic, ably represented by the Vice President, and say, God bless you and God bless Nigeria. I thank you.
Make a clap for her, well. Madam, I hear the Ogonis have given you a name. They call you the Sarah of Ogoniland. Please put your hands together for her. My privilege to invite to address us is the President, Ogoni Traditional Council of Supreme Council of Ogoni Traditional Rulers, Its Royal Majesty, King GNK Guinewa. And as a king, he doesn't speak much, so he will only take only 2 minutes. I know he's a king. Please put your hands together for him. You see, when kings move, you know that they are moving.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are representing our President. I'm sorry that the President is not here. We would like to see, but we are satisfied with you. It's a very long story. It's a long story that starts with my friend Sarah Wewa. And unfortunately, when the young man died, some of us started taking it up. And we've been fighting. I remember when the place was hot, and my people wanted to kill me, my own village people. You can imagine what leaders are passing through. And he came back. He was arrested to Were. And he asked my people, if you kill Guinea, who will join me to fight for you? That word that my friend said, even after his death, I continue to fight till today. I want to thank Your Excellency, the governor, the former governor of Rivers State, my friend, my son, Chibuike Beshi. Honestly speaking, I was disappointed, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to advise Nigerian leaders, particularly political leaders, that when they make promises, they should be able to keep that promise. Though politics and chieftaincy works together, but in this case, we are not practically politicians. But because of the excitement of Jonathan, a man from my own area, my son, to be president of this country, we went all out. I went to Maiduguri. My friend, the Shehu of Borno, greeting for me. We campaigned up to Yobe. We went to Bauchi and slept in Gombe. My dear brothers, if you are going for such campaign, presidential campaign, these days they carry money, carry guns. But we didn't carry anything. All our colleagues, we were not talking to any other person than the traditional rulers. They listened to us and did what we asked them to do without even paying them a full. I still have to thank them because when trouble came into that place, my friend, the Shehu of Borno, lost 3 persons in his palace. Now, after we've taken over government, we formed a committee. Jonathan formed a committee. That committee, if you are not a member of the South-South, you won't join us. And this meeting, we have been meeting every month. I'm a member. And they will ask you, what do you want us to do for your people so that they can be happy with me? My answer to Jonathan was, clean Ogoniland. Ogoni will be happy with you. Well, I'm so sorry. Our people say knife from knife, knife cut, knife from hand, cut hand. So it's not your fault, it's my own fault. Because if it were an Hausa man, an Igbo man, or somebody, I could have said, oh, because they are cheating us, this one, I cheat myself. So honestly speaking, I was courageous enough during the campaign. I have nothing against Jonathan. He's my son. I love him so much. A very quiet boy. But in this case, he made a mistake. Because he couldn't do what he promised the Ogoni people to do. So I'm sorry that God has saved us. Save him too. Because I remember when the memo was given to him by the UNEP people, he came from his exalted position and said, look, Your Majesty, you have not even saved Ogoniland, you have saved the whole South-South. And I'm happy that the whole thing is spreading to the South-South area of Nigeria today. So I thank him for having that vision. Well, I could have regard today that we are not mourning. Time for mourning is gone. Ogoni is now happy. I don't know whether you see practical happiness, that sometimes to even they give you food, you won't eat. So I want to thank Mr. President for what he has done for the Ogoni people. Because when I invited him to Ogoniland, I was thinking that because he's looking for for vote, that he would promise and fail. But he didn't fail me. Now that we are here today, I'm sure that the Ogoniland will be clean. So I thank him, and when I wrote him a letter of congratulations, I told him that I was asking for cleaning of Ogoniland alone. But now that you are Mr. President, try and recruit Ogoni boys and girls, because we are good servants into your government. So I would like Mr. President to try and give one or two of Ogoni students so that we can work with him. You know how good we are. Thank you for doing it. On behalf of the Ogoni people, I want to thank him too. I struggle to see how Boni and Bodo Road should be. That is one of the economic roads that leads to the Ogoni area. But it wasn't done. I'm happy that either they have awarded it or it's in the pipeline, always a political statement. But this time, I don't think it's in the pipeline. It has come out of pipeline. So I would like to appeal to Mr. President to try and, at least for once, now that he's cleaning Ogoniland, he should make sure that that road is cleared. And I won't forget to appeal to him too, that trailer park and oil mill, which was part of the East-West Road, should be completed. The Ogoni people are suffering. I know he will do it because he has done it for me before. Thank you for all of you for coming, and we are very peaceful people. You know why we are peaceful? When it is time for good people to fight, they can kill themselves. But they love strangers. So if you are here today, feel free, be happy, rejoice with us, and please, Mr. Federal Government, we want more things to come to Ogoniland. We have suffered a lot. God bless all of you.
Amen. Please put your hands together for him. And while he goes back to his seat, may I invite the Managing Director of Shell and Country Chair Shell Companies in Nigeria, Mr. Osagi Okumbo. Mr. Osagi Okumbo. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen.
On Ogoniland.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, represented here by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibajo, SAN, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Imo State, our host minister, the Honorable Minister for Environment, other ministers here present for the Niger Delta, Information, Budget and Planning, and Ministers of State for Environment and Minister of State for Health, Your Royal Majesty King Giniwa, members of the National Assembly here present, presidents of MOSOP and Cargote, my colleague, Managing Director of Nigerian Ajib and Total, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors of the Netherlands and Norway, Executive Director of UNEP, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria, Operators Joint Venture, I would like to express our profound appreciation to Mr. President and the federal government for the opportunity for renewed action on the implementation of the UNEP report recommendations on Ogoniland. My schedule as MD of SPDC and country chair of the Shell Companies in Nigeria since I took over just over a year ago has been heavily dominated by consultations and workshops on the implementation of this important report, even more so when Mr. President assumed office, and subsequently when the current Minister for Environment assumed office. I'm therefore very pleased that these efforts have come to fruition today. The NNPC-SPDC joint venture welcomes the leadership shown by Mr. President in prioritizing the implementation of the UNEP report recommendations. This includes actions taken in the last 6 months of his administration as spearheaded by the Minister of Environment. I recall that the Minister has held wide-ranging consultations and visited Ogoniland, as we've heard today, several times to pave the way for today's event. I want to thank you, Madam Minister. We're encouraged by the positive and constructive response from representatives of the communities, UNEP, NGOs, and civil society during recent stakeholder engagements initiated by the Minister. These and other engagements and consultations are in recognition of the federal government's role as the lead multi-stakeholder coordinator to implement the UNEP report recommendations. I want to assure Mr. President that the SPDC joint venture remains committed to actively participating along with other stakeholders to ensure that the cleanup is embarked on as soon as possible. This includes the SPDC JV's commitment, repeated by all the JV partners in various fora, to contributing our share of the Environmental Restoration Fund. And we work with the Minister and other stakeholders to finalize the appropriate governance and funding structures. This is in keeping with our belief that UNEP report offers a good opportunity for all stakeholders, governments, communities, NGOs, and international oil companies to work together and drive for real change on environmental issues in Ogoniland and the wider Niger Delta. This collaboration is key to the realization of the ideals of the report, as UNEP itself acknowledged in 2011. I would like to end these brief remarks by reiterating the NNPC-SPDC joint venture looks forward to working with all stakeholders on the implementation of the UNEP report's recommendations, and I wish to thank the federal government for its efforts in steering us on this important journey so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for him, for Cheryl. Cheryl is now born again. Amen? Amen?
Managing Director of SPDC and Country Chair, Shell Companies in Nigeria.
Two minutes, remember, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Thank you.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Nigeria, represented today by His Excellency, the Vice President, Osinbajo, Your Excellency Ezembo Wike, the Governor of Rivers State, Your Excellency Amina Mohammed, Minister of Environment of Nigeria, His Royal Highness King Ginewa, the Paramount King of Ogoniland, Honorable Ministers, traditional leaders, elders, ladies and gentlemen, and the great people of Ogoni. It is my honor and pleasure to be here today, and I must confess to you that I did not think that this day would come, because for many years, and you for even longer, have been waiting for this day. A day in which finally we do not only talk and write and study and document decades of destruction, of neglect, of environmental degradation and human suffering, but we begin to do something about it. I want to pay tribute to the many leaders in your community, in the government of Nigeria, and in particular also former President Obasanjo, because when he invited UNEP originally to join the effort of trying to document and also come up with a plan for cleaning up Ogoniland and ultimately the Niger Delta, it was a very difficult choice to make. Divisions were very strong. Trust did not exist. And for a United Nations Environment Programme to do its work, these are the foundations. I'm very proud to say that we stand before you today and are grateful for the trust and confidence that you have shown in UNEP. To read about the UNEP report in Nigeria's media, to drive along the street this morning and to see the posters refer to the UNEP report, and to see many of you wearing T-shirts and refer to the UNEP report, means that together we have done our job. We have provided you, the people of Ogoni, the government, the oil industry, and indeed the international community, with a document that spells out what has happened, quite how drastic the consequences have been, how much worse they are compared to what many thought, and how long it will take to try and restore this. Let me say that in the United Nations family, we are committed to stand by the government of Nigeria, by the people of Ogoni, and together with the partners in the SPDC also, to ensure that what is promised today, what is flagged off today, is truly something that everybody can be held accountable for. For me personally, it is also a journey that ends here, because my tenure as Executive Director comes to an end in just a few days. And I want to take this opportunity to introduce to you my colleague, Eric Solheim, who has been a very close envoy and partner to the UNEP report here in Nigeria, and has just been elected by the General Assembly to be the future Executive Director of UNEP. So I want to assure you that this commitment of UNEP to support you and to walk with you in the implementation of this restoration program is in very good hands. Excellency, if you allow me, I would like to end with a quote which originally was part of persuading me as Executive Director to say to my team in UNEP, who is sitting here on the left, that this is a great risk for us to take, but it is a just cause, and it is where we were needed. I want to end with a quote of a famous Nigerian, a son of this country, and a loved son of the Ogoni. It was or were his famous last words. We all stand before history. I am a man of peace of ideas, appalled by the denigrating poverty of my people who live on a richly endowed land, distressed by their political marginalization and economic strangulation, angered by the devastation of their land, their ultimate heritage, anxious to preserve their right to life and to a decent living, and determined to usher to this country as a whole a fair and just democratic system which protects everyone and every ethnic group and gives us a valid claim to human civilization. I have devoted my intellectual and material resources, my very life, to a cause in which I have total belief and from which I cannot be blackmailed or intimidated. I have no doubt at all about the ultimate success of my cause, no matter the trials and tribulations which I and those who believe with me may encounter on our journey. Neither imprisonment nor death can stop our ultimate victory. It is in the memory of the people and many generations for whom Ken Saro-Wiwa spoke on the day of his execution that I think we all return to this place and, at least while never justifying the loss of a life, can perhaps at least give some meaning to the sacrifice of those who are not with us here today. That is why we in the United Nations Environment Programme took the decision to be part of this effort, and you can count on us to stand on your side in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. President.
Remarks by the Executive Director of UNEP, whose assessment of the devastation of Ogoniland has been described as unprecedented. It was a 2-year process which included a 14-month field work. The launch is on, taking place at Bodo.
We specially recognize all of you because you have done so well for us. We'll always be grateful. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, my privilege now to invite to the microphone Right Honorable Chibukero Timi Amechi.
I'll give it to you. Your Excellency, Mr. President, ably represented by the Vice President, Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Your Excellencies, my colleagues in the... There's a serving senator. Your Excellency, the Senator Bukara Ali, right? Abba Ibrahim, who was once a governor and now a senator. Your Excellencies, my colleagues in the Cabinet, Your Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to address you today, not as your governor, but as a minister representing Rivers State in the Cabinet. I'm delighted, Mr. President, to recall that one day a gentleman walked into my office and told me, then I was governor of Rivers State, that he's a representative of UNEP and that he needed the Rivers State government assistance to be able to carry out an assessment of the damage that pollution had caused on Ogoniland. Then Senator Magnus Abe was the Secretary to State Government, and I approached him and requested that I needed him to carry out this function. He did his best, but there was a need for me to address Ogoni people. So I called for a stakeholders meeting in which literally all Ogoni chiefs, leaders, and elders were at Bori. And I pleaded with them that they must allow UNEP to step in. They didn't want to see UNEP, they didn't want to see Shell. And I asked them one question, and I'll repeat the question. Do you trust me? And everybody said, yes, we trusted you. And I said, if you trust me, let them go in. I will defend Ogoniland.
And that is the story of UNEP. So they allowed Mike to go in. There were attempts to kidnap them. I won't forget Brigadier General, now Major General retired, S.Y. Bello. He and I were always in the bush running and chasing criminals, not to kidnap Mike and his team. Mike made a mistake. He addressed the press in Switzerland when some hoodlums from Ogoni began to break pipes. And he said, they are polluting the land the more, and the Ogoni people got angry. Again, I intervened and I pleaded with the Ogoni people not to get angry. Let us achieve the report so that we know how to move on from there. Your Excellency, the rest is history. Who be your brother? That's the second part of the history. The second part of the history, Your Excellency, is that we did everything possible as sitting government to get our brother and our leader, the former president, to implement the UNEP report. We did everything, Your Excellency, and I will use the word everything, including going to church to pray. And UNEP report was not implemented. I was then, by accident of God, appointed the Director General of the Buhari campaign organization. The day I was to go with the president to Calabar, I saw a delegation of Ogoni people in my house. And they requested that I please plead with the then General Buhari, he was not a president, he was a presidential candidate, to kindly see them in their natural habitat. They want to receive him and make a demand. I looked at the time. I had a problem of time management because I needed to deliver him in Calabar and to another part of the country the same day. We were taking 2 states per day. I think it was Calabar and Delta, and we were running late. We went, we came in, and the president agreed to come. Today, again, that is history, because there he promised, I will implement the UNEP report. Mr. President, we are gathered here today in keeping with that promise. I'm sure that we all know that in keeping with that promise, the economy of Ogoni people will change. Do we agree? Yes. Do we agree? Yes. In keeping with that promise, we agree that there is no way they will spend $1 billion here that we shall not create employment. Do we agree? Yes. In keeping with that promise, the microeconomy will change, will it? Yes. May God bless President Buhari. His Majesty asked me to announce that he gave President a chieftaincy title called Mene Nwale. Is that how it's pronounced? Mene Nwale. One of Ogoniland. So I'm taking this to the president. Maybe I'll give it to Minister for Defense.
Well, thank you very much. The Minister for Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibike Amechi. Now, the Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed, in her courtesy visit to the Governor of Rivers State, reiterated that the cleanup exercise should go beyond partisanship and we should look to a collective, a collaboration to ensure the success of this exercise. And on that note, I'd like to call on the Governor of Rivers State, who is seated there at the podium, to give his remarks. Chief Nyesom Wike.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably presented by His Excellency, the Vice President, the Governor of Imo State, my brother, Rochas Okrocha, members of the National Assembly that are here, ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that are here, service commanders that are here, our traditional rulers, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and privilege to welcome the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, and his highly distinguished entourage to Rivers State to formally launch the implementation of the United Nations Environment Program UNEP report and the cleanup of Ogoniland and other oil-impacted communities in the Niger Delta. For decades, the entire Niger Delta has been subjected to the worst forms of environmental degradation ever experienced by mankind in this part of the world. Millions of barrels of oil have been spilled into the environment by companies exploiting and extracting hydrocarbons from the area with severe consequences to the ecosystem, including wildlife, marine habitations, soil and water quality, and human health. Despite continued protests by the people, the environmental degradation of the Niger Delta has not stopped. Oil spills continue to occur with distressing regularity even in Ogoniland. As the UNEP report starkly reveals, the degree of environmental damage in the Niger Delta has been so deep and expansive that it will take several decades to carry out full remediation of impacted sites. The UNEP report, which is the precursor to today's event, is significant for at least two reasons. First, it presents the best available and factually detailed documentation of the scale of the existing and continuing damage to the entire Ogoni environment and, by extension, the Niger Delta. Second, and most significantly, it presents a clear roadmap on the priorities of action by government, stakeholders, and the international community in terms of cleanup, remediation, and restoration of the damage that had accumulated over the years. For us as a people and the direct victims of the most brazen forms of environmental abuse, today is a watershed in a collective struggle for environmental justice from the Nigerian nation and the world community. We therefore welcome this initiative wholeheartedly as shown by enthusiastic presence, believing that the recommendations of UNEP will be systematically executed. This is because we believe that only environmental justice will restore sustainable peace, stability, and economic progress in the Niger Delta. We therefore commend Mr. President's determination to close this ugly chapter in our country's history. Although this has taken long in coming, it is never too late when it comes to the environment. Therefore, Mr. President, sir, your presence in Ogoniland today is a testimonial of the long-awaited cleanup and remediation exercises of the Niger Delta polluted environment. We appreciate and most sincerely thank Your Excellency for this bold initiative. We thank all our stakeholders, including our international friends, who have sustained the struggle and advocacy to preserve our environment for succeeding generations. We acknowledge that this is a federal initiative. The direct impact is borne by our people. We therefore urge all our stakeholders to embrace and support the federal government gesture and ensure a hitch-free exercise. On our part, the Rivers State government will ever be willing to provide a platform for a smooth achievement of this long-awaited intervention. May God bless Rivers State and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much. The Governor of Rivers State, Chief Ezenwa Nyesom Wike. On the 5th of... Well, it was on the 5th of August of 2015 that the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, approved demonstration of commitment and political will to ensure that we have our environment remediated, to ensure that we restore our environment in Ogoniland and by extension in the Niger Delta. At this point, I'd like to call on the Honorable Minister of Environment, who will then invite the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for his remarks. We now have the Minister, Mrs. Amina Mohammed.
Thank you. It is my deep honor and privilege at this moment in time to invite the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably representative by our Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to give his address.
Thank you very much. Please sit. Before I read the President's speech, I'd like to make a comment or two of my own. First, I'd like to say that today is a historic day in the life of not just Ogoniland and all of the surrounding and neighboring communities, but it's also a great day for this nation. I want to say to the people of Ogoniland that first, the restoration that is going to take place here is not just a restoration of your environment. I pray that it will also be a restoration of families, a restoration of your wealth, a restoration of your health, and a restoration of everything that is good about this land. In the mighty name of the Lord Jesus. Amen. I pray that this particular occasion will mark the beginning of real change for this land, for this Ogoniland. It will be a change in your circumstances. It will be a change in your health. It will be a change in your wealth. It will be a change in your future, a positive change, the kind of change that you will, that even after now, you and your children and your children's children will enjoy it for long. In the mighty name of the Lord Jesus. Today is a day of victory for this land, a day of victory. You have fought long and hard, and I believe that this is the beginning of that victory, and you will enjoy that victory for long. In Jesus' mighty name. I will read the President's speech. The President has asked me to say that he's not here himself, but his promise is here, and he is here to keep his promise. And that he will keep his promise not just today, but he will see this restoration and rehabilitation through day by day until it's completed. Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Excellency Nyesom Wike, Your Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, Governor Rochas Okorocha, the Deputy Governor of Cross River State, the Chairman of the Senate Committee on Petroleum, Senator Magnus Abe, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Climate Change, Dr. Buka Abba, the Chairman, House Committee on Climate Change, Honorable Sam Onyibo, the Honorable Minister of Environment, the Honorable Minister of Transport, Minister of Defense, the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, and the Honorable Minister for Niger Delta, and the Honorable Minister for Information, the Executive Secretary, United Nations Environmental Programme, Mr. Achim Steiner, His Royal Majesty King GNK Giniwa, and other traditional rulers of the Ogoni community here present, chief executives of multinational companies, sons and daughters of Ogoniland, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is the address of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, on the launch of the cleanup of the Ogoniland and other oil-impacted communities in the Niger Delta at Bodo, River State, on this day, Thursday, the 2nd of June, 2016. Today marks another milestone in the life of our administration. I recall the time as a military head of state when I visited Bodo town in Ogoniland. During that visit, I commissioned a large fish pond and planted a tree as a sign of that government's concern for the environment. Unfortunately, since then, the degradation of land, water, and air has done huge damage to the fragile ecosystem of the Niger Delta, particularly Ogoniland. Oil exploration and production has been going on in Nigeria for 6 decades. Oil has given a boost to the Nigerian economy. But the ecosystem of the Niger Delta has been severely damaged. Fishing and agriculture has been badly affected. There were acts, enactments, laws, guidelines, regulations to govern the operators of the oil industry. However, either because of lack of will or willful non-compliance with environmental laws and regulations, the environment was put in jeopardy. The various communities in the Niger Delta region, noting the negative impact of oil production and lack of consideration for best practices, quite rightly commends the struggle for justice and fair play in the conduct of business by the oil industry operators. This process unfortunately led to loss of lives and properties. International concern was raised, while past governments were urged to take decisive steps in addressing the damage. The administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo engaged the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, to undertake of Ogoniland. UNEP reports detailed a number of issues for consideration, while recommendations were made for its implementation. The report was submitted
We are sorry about that hitch.
The report was submitted to my predecessor in office in 2011, but the implementation was not accorded the necessary support it required. The people of Ogoniland continue to suffer from pollution of air, land, and water. On Thursday, the 8th of January 2015, in the course of our presidential campaign, we made an unscheduled stop in Ogoniland. After listening to the address presented on behalf of the Ogoni people by Senator Magnus Abe, we made a solemn commitment that if given the opportunity, we shall implement the UNEP report on Ogoniland. We are determined to put right the wrongs of the past, where the people of this land were treated unfairly and the environment unduly degraded and polluted. Today, we are in Ogoniland, in the heart of the Niger Delta, to fulfill our promise to you and to bring justice and succor to our people. The cleanup of this land will require change on the part of all those who deal with the Niger Delta environment, particularly the oil companies and our communities. The tempo of activities for this assignment increased when my cabinet was constituted. The Honorable Minister of Environment consulted all relevant ministries that could actualize the UNEP report. Several stakeholder meetings and activities were held. We are therefore laying a solid foundation today for the restoration of the fragile ecosystem of Ogoniland and the rest of the Niger Delta. This is an epoch-making event in the history of Nigeria. The UNEP report indicated a timeline of 25 to 30 years to achieve a full restoration of the environment of the Niger Delta. The first step begins with a solid foundation, which will be brought about through consultation, transparency, accountability, investing in the people and environment. There's therefore now a serious need for all Nigerians, irrespective of political, ethnic, or religious affiliations, to support the efforts of this administration. I've given approval to the constitution of the necessary institutional framework that will drive a hitch-free implementation of the UNEP report. Our lives, socio-economic and political interests depend to a great extent on the quality of our environment. Let me seize this opportunity to sound a note of warning. The current oil thefts and illegal refining will not be tolerated. The regulators in the oil industry must all live up to their expectations. They must ensure that oil companies carry out their operations in line with universal oil field best practices. This administration is laying a foundation for change. Therefore, the rule of law, good governance, as well as the security of our people are paramount. The government places high emphasis on the diversification of our economy. The drive is to ensure that the Nigerian economy is strong and capable of supporting our teeming young people through job and wealth creation. The cleanup of Ogoniland has embedded in the program livelihood and sustainable development components. A center of excellence that will identify the skill gaps and provide the necessary training will be put in place. The methodology for the cleanup will ensure job creation for young people. The agro-allied industry required for the processing of the agricultural produce will also be put in place in the course of the cleanup project. The host communities as well as transit communities are enjoined to keep the environment clean, devoid of oil pollution. The reports of oil pollution in the Nigerian environment show that a significant percentage is due to sabotage and willful vandalism of oil company facilities. The recent upsurge in the blasting of pipelines in the operation areas of several of the oil companies is a case in point. These incidents brought about drastic reduction in our daily oil production, as well as the quantum of gas that feed power plants for electricity generation. Inadequate power supply has consequential implications on our economy and wealth creation. The action of these saboteurs of our economy therefore increases the poverty cycle everywhere, including in their own communities. Given the current situation in the Niger Delta, it must be borne in mind that destroying the Niger Delta environment by oil companies, by militants or oil thieves have the same end result. The important thing is that the present government can do justice to all without us destroying our environment. And so I enjoin the traditional rulers, the elite, opinion leaders, the press, women, as well as young people of Ogoniland and the Niger Delta to work conscientiously and to ensure that we put an end to all forms of oil installation vandalism and sabotage. I wish to place on record the appreciation of the federal government of Nigeria to the United Nations Environmental Programme, which continues to support the efforts aimed at making our environment a safe place to dwell in. It's my hope that we will all join hands to make this epoch-making event a grand success. I hope to come and inspect progress of this assignment before long, and I expect to see visible improvement in the environmental conditions here. The choice is for you and I to keep our environment clean and nurture the Niger Delta back to its lost glory. The beginning of this cleanup exercise is clear evidence that the likes of Ken Saro-Wiwa and other sons of Ogoniland, who fought so hard for environmental justice, did not fight in vain. Let this day mark the beginning of the restoration of not just the environment of Ogoniland, but of peace and prosperity to the great land and people of the Niger Delta. God bless Ogoniland. God bless all of the communities, the neighboring communities here. God bless the Niger Delta. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Please put your hands together for Mr.
An address by the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, being presented by the Vice President. He began by recalling his earlier visit to this very site, the Patrick Water Site, Bodo, in Gokana local government area, where he had commissioned the largest fish pond in Rivers State. And we are told that this also was the largest settlement of fishermen in those good days. And expectedly, it is also the worst hit as we talk about issues of pollution. And that informs the location of this activity today on this very site.
Yes, they're going down for the... Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Can we please show the 5-minute video? Thank you.
Please, for the video, I plead that everybody remains silent and watch from wherever you are. Thank you.
Every single moment, there's an ongoing oil spill in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, if you look at the level of oil spills going on in the Niger Delta, it's one of the largest levels in the world.
The story of Bodo is a sad story. The two spills caused by mechanical failure.
Since oil come here, if you catch fish and you wash it and you tear him better, you go see oil inside. When you just chop and you go hear the odor of kerosene. As you just breathe like this, the odor of kerosene will come back from your mouth.
When the spills occur, tide can carry these oil spills into the mangroves.
As you can see, oil used to be a mangrove.
What has been revealed from the United Nations Environment Program assessment of Ogoni environment, in fact, at the end they said it will require 25 years to clean the waters in Ogoniland. But all we're seeing are signposts in communities saying your land is contaminated, keep off. You don't see the middle of villages, people are living right there. And you're telling them the land is contaminated, you keep off. Where are they going to go to?
Ikarama in Bayelsa State was once a vibrant farming and fishing community. This is what happens when things go wrong.
Ikarama community has the highest frequency of oil spills in Bayelsa and the Niger Delta as a whole.
This ground is contaminated with the crude oil all over. Maybe you dig, let me say, 2 feet down, 3 feet, you will see crude oil.
Then from the oil spills, you're having toxic waste from chemicals used in drilling processes. You're having wastewater that comes from the process of oil drilling.
A place that used to be the food basket of Nigeria, the environment was degraded. Their source of livelihood was destroyed.
Our farms are no longer working well. The crews kill all our fishes all around us. Food become a problem now.
So you're having food system polluted, water polluted, the land polluted.
The children, they always sick.
What is causing these spills?
Sabotage has very high percentage. Maybe about 80 or 90% of the spills in such areas are attributed to sabotage. But if you go to some other areas, over 90% are due to equipment failure or operational failure.
So what is happening in the Niger Delta is people are spilling oil and nobody is taking responsibility. I don't blame the oil companies alone. I also blame the people that are breaking the pipelines.
But it's more complicated than individuals simply breaking pipelines.
The contractors of the oil companies who have the mandate to clean up after spills occur. Just in case they don't have enough contracts, they do influence a couple of community youths to go and, tamper with something here and there so that they can get the contract to go and clean up after.
They just give the boys about 200,000 naira and then they smile to the banks.
Post sort of 2009, we've really seen an increase in third-party causes of spills. So that doesn't mean that the oil companies should be let off the hook for several hundred oil spills a year, which wouldn't be acceptable anywhere else in the world.
Why militancy succeeded in the Niger Delta was the huge neglect. People are still drinking from the river the way they did when I was still a child. No boreholes, no good roads. So, where are the money going to?
In the meantime, oil spill follows oil spill. Damage is extensive with virtually no rehabilitation.
I like to say we're not apart from nature. We are part of nature. This is what helps to build a system that is truly resilient and can give us hope for the future. So we need all of us, all Nigerians, all Africans, all citizens of the world. We have a stake in what happens to the planet because we have only one Earth.
Thank you so much. That was a short clip to say it all. I can see the Honorable Minister is going to lead Mr. President to the formal unveiling that will commemorate and tell us tomorrow that we were here today. Only 4 persons. Minister of Environment, okay, the Governor of Imo State is joining. It's a symbolic thing we are doing here, but it is for tomorrow. Please, no crowd is up. Don't go forward. Please don't go. Stay wherever you are. Please don't surge forward. For the media men, journalists, please, there will be an interview session with the Honorable Minister of Environment. Immediately Mr. President leaves here on this stage.
The president is at the site to unveil the plaque at Patrick's Waterside to a symbol of the launch of this cleanup as recommended by the United Nations Environment Program. 2 major spills between September 2008 and February 2009 reportedly emptied thousands of barrels of crude oil into the ecosystem of this town. And the evidence is really seen. In fact, the situation is better seen than described. Earlier today, there was some rain, and from the pool of water gathered here and there, you can actually see the film of oil on the surface of the pools. The president is about to unveil the plaque now.
To unveil this monument on the occasion of the official launch of the oil spill cleanup in Ogoniland by President Muhammadu Buhari, President Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in Bodo, Gokana Local Government, Rivers State, on this 2nd day of June 2016. This cleanup is for the benefit of the people of Ogoniland and other surrounding communities in the Delta, and to the glory of God.
Yeah, even though from here I can't see what is going on, but Mr. President had formally.
That is the symbolic moment we've all been waiting for. The physical manifestation of a promise made on the part of the federal government and on the part of the people. It is a signal of the beginning of an emancipation from so many issues. Economic emancipation, agricultural rebirth, social, psychological, mental. You know, these people have been under a lot of pressures these past years, the result of which, like I said a while ago, can be better seen than described or imagined. We are still at Patrick Waterside, Bodo town in Gokana local government area of Rivers State, South Nigeria. It's the venue of the launch of the cleanup of Ogoniland and other impacted communities in the Niger Delta, following a report submitted by UNEP on August 4, 2011. It is a big relief to the people that 5 years later, there is a leap in the long process that's going to eventually result in the total restoration of Ogoniland, a land that has approximately 850 people living in 6 kingdoms spread across 4 local government areas of Rivers State. It's the movement led by the Vice President now of dignitaries here that unveiled the plaque, and they now return to the seats for the continuation of proceedings here today.
So all rise and stand for the national anthem of Nigeria. Please remain standing wherever you are. Protocol requires that Mr. President leaves quietly before anybody. So wherever you are, remain standing. If you are sitting, remain seated until Mr. President's convoy departs. Stand by the kingdom and his group. At this point, we know that the MD, Nigerian Energy Oil Company, was also here, Mr. Mosimo Insula. My people, my people. Thank you, that's Mr. President. You see, he's taking a walk. Please don't leave wherever you are. Remain standing or seated so that we can sort out matters of protocol. Thank you, and God bless you. Where is the band? The music band. Leave the stage here.
President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. He was represented by his Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And like we have observed, this is definitely a promise made and kept on the part of the federal government, because
a positive self-image is